So if you follow the channel, then you know that I have an i3-12100F and an i7-12700K, and that I've been using 12th gen Intel almost exclusively since, well, February. I don't personally own any Ryzen systems unless you count the Steam Deck, and since not everyone's adopted 12th gen, in this video I'd like to talk about my experiences, both good and bad, with the current generation as it kind of draws closer to its end. This video will be a talking video, so the screen isn't too important, but stick around. I have some interesting things to say, and before we get into the experience with Alder Lake, let me know if you have any experiences in the comments below. Starting with the biggest, most glaring thing that I just can't ignore is the speed. The 12100F, which is an i3, which is at the bottom of the core lineup, and it's at the bottom of the i3 lineup. Even this processor is more than capable of keeping up with the absolute compute monster that is the RTX 3080. You know, task dependent, right? If you don't believe me, there's a link in the description. And as far as the 12700K goes, I was using a 5900X before this, and the 12700K blows the 5900X out of the water. It is very rare to notice CPU upgrades when you upgrade within the same year, and I noticed an upgrade. My video editing has never been faster. I'm chewing through, 10-minute 4K videos in faster than real time. It's simply absurd. The integrated graphics did also get a substantial boost from 11th gen. That doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you put it in perspective, the integrated graphics alone are enough to play most modern games at 720p. So Intel APU gaming machines are sort of a thing, but not really. That's more useful again in video editing, where the integrated graphics are directly boosting my timeline performance and the speed at which I add effects to videos like stabilization and rotating footage, just smaller things like that. All that performance comes at a cost though, and that cost is both thermal and power consumption. Thermally speaking, this is the hottest chip I've had in my system since the FX 9590. I have just as much trouble keeping my 12700K cool as I did my 9590. Keeping with that comparison, my 9590 under load would pull in the order of 200 to 240 watts, and with a 240mm AIO would sit right around 80 degrees Celsius when gaming. My 12700K, a chip with a TDP of 190 watts, will regularly pull over 200 watts, and when it's pulling that much power, it's at roughly 90 degrees with a 240mm AIO. That's simply absurd. When gaming though, it's much more manageable at roughly 100 watts or so, and 70 degrees Celsius. All of my other chips though, would normally be able to get in the 50 to 60 degree Celsius range when gaming. There's a reason for this though. These chips are designed to turbo themselves as far as their thermal and power limits will let them, which is nice, again, for performance, but I feel that because they're doing this, the life of these chips, because of how hot they will run in the wild, and not everyone knows how to or cares enough to throttle their performance just a little bit to make them last twice as long. I do know that what I just said is almost exclusive to the K SKUs, so it's not as big of an issue as I'm making it out to be, but I'm running a K SKU and trying to keep it cool, so that's not actually easy. But subscribe if you want to see next week's video about me trying to keep 12th gen even cooler. Moving on, before I start ranting, although I probably already did. As a part of moving to 12th gen, I decided it would be a good idea to go all in, meaning DDR5 and Windows 11. My experience with DDR5 has been a bit of a mixed bag. It is nice to have more storage per DIMM, but it is significantly more expensive. And I can't personally tell the difference between DDR4 and DDR5, performance-wise. But I can tell you the difference because DDR5 has come with some massive stability issues. I can tell the difference because DDR5 has come with some massive stability issues. I've been through 3 different kits and all of them have the same issues with the XMP profiles. The standard profile has always been stable, but I think they're pushing the XMP profiles a bit too hard. With the new kits as a part of marketing, and honestly it shows, with random crashes and just general stability issues. Add that to the CPUs boosting as high as they want for as long as they damn well please. 12th gen K SKUs with DDR5, while the fastest consumer platform in history, as of making this video that is, they are also one of the more unstable platforms. But when you're that's only when you're taking full advantage of the platform, and when you're not taking full advantage of the platform, you might as well not be using it. Don't get me wrong, I like this platform, it's fast, and all of the CPUs support both DDR4 and DDR5, which is amazing for compatibility and consumer choice. The last 2 things I like about 12th gen Intel are really one thing, and it doesn't sound useful, but it actually really is. PCI Express. Doesn't sound too important, but honestly, like I said, it really is. Intel's last i7 was the first i7 to have 20 PCI Express lanes on the CPU, and it was the first CPU to have Gen 4 lanes. From Intel's 3770K, released in 2012, through Intel's 10th gen, which was replaced by 11th gen in 2021, Intel's i7s have had 16 third-generation lanes. For almost 10 years, it was 16 third-generation lanes. And 11th gen had 20 Gen 4 lanes. 12th gen still has 20 lanes, but they're all Gen 5. Which doubles the bandwidth between generations. So the 12th gen is perfect for running NVMe storage, which is why you see a lot of new motherboards with up to sometimes 5 or 6 NVMe slots. That's because 12th gen has the lanes for it. 20 Gen 5 lanes is roughly equivalent to 40 Gen 4 lanes, which is absurd, especially on a consumer platform. And most GPUs aren't even using Gen 5 yet. And the ones that aren't using the whole Gen 5 bus. They're really going to use it as a Gen 4 bus, not a Gen 5. Which is, again, absurd. And, yeah, I know that doesn't sound like a huge deal, but, I have 2 NVMe SSDs in my PC that run 7,000 plus megs a second, and that's honestly insane. But, anyway. This video was very unwell organized, and I apologize about that. But I hope you guys enjoyed it somewhat. It's weird being back. I took 2 weeks off, had some weird stuff going on, but we're back. Schedule's back. We're moving again. And I will see you guys in the next one.